Good afternoon, everyone. We're just waiting on a few more people to pop in. So give us a couple of minutes before we start the webinar. Hello, and thank you all for waiting patiently. Um, Welcome to today's webinar, Supporting People-Centric Records Management with OnePlace Solutions, the third instalment of our four-part webinar series. Thank you for taking time out and being here today. My name is Trevor Weir, Client Executive with Prometics. Joining me today will be Alyssa and Patrick from OnePlace Solutions. Just a little housekeeping before we get started. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the question box in your GoToWebinar control panel. We'll bring them up during the presentation and we'll also have time for questions at the end. And if you miss anything today, please contact us directly and we'll be glad to assist. So a little about the series. Why Microsoft Teams and why a series of webinars? In response to the former, at Prometics, we believe in the power and promise of Teams to drive an efficient, focused and centralized modern workplace. The uptake has been incredibly slow, but conversations around Microsoft Teams is starting to move away from it just being a juiced up Skype. Calling, chatting, and sharing sitting side by side with business reports, work tasks, and workplace insights. With the use of the Power Platform, business enablement capabilities can be simplified, allowing you to submit a leave request or an IT ticket with a handful of clicks within Teams. Intranets and Sharepoint are now becoming back-end repositories for more interactive and user-friendly Teams channels, with artificial intelligence built in to automate the creation of business wiki pages. Your Microsoft Teams has the power to be so much more than a convenient chat tool, which answers a ladder. There is too much discussed in just 4 webinars, let alone just the one webinar. Why not more then? Every business is unique and every business has different user requirements. Not all features would be relevant to all attendees, which is why we have focused on the essential features to drive adoption, create an appetite for change, and guarantee a successful modern workplace upgrade. We started with the often overlooked or rushed opening step of implementation and governance, ensuring ease of use and administration of your teams, ultimately seeing an uptake in a positive adoption, and then moving on to the integration of records management into Teams. And today we will introduce tools to better access your documents and records from Teams and Outlook before moving into destigmatizing and simplifying records migrations to SharePoint and Teams. Following this webinar, we will make every measure to make the webinars available for you to increase adoptions with Teams governance, jumping into records management in Teams, and have a look at registering for the final big step of migrating records to Microsoft. Promedex is proud of the breadth of our partnerships, none more so than our Microsoft Gold partnership. We work with our state, federal, and private customers, helping them get the most from their Microsoft investment by enabling them to more easily use and share information as individuals and in teams. We design, implement, and support Microsoft technology solutions that align with our customers' priorities to deliver measurable and tangible positive outcomes. Promedex works across 5 key verticals, taking our customers through the entirety of a digital transformation and its ongoing management. The webinar series focuses on the first of our verticals, digital workplace and collaboration, but a true upgrade to your modern workplace, your team's environment, would need to draw on expertise from all our verticals to ensure the business group's adoption, and consultants, architects, executives, and Trev are more than happy to have a chat about this at your convenience. Over the course of the series, I'll be introducing you to a few heavy hitters from Promedex and our partners. Today, with me, I have the lovely Alyssa and Patrick. Before I hand over, I'll quickly run you through what we have installed for you today. Records management as we know it today can best be described as stale. Too few vendors have held too much influence for too long, leading to a lull in innovation. As Microsoft has introduced itself to the records management and compliance industry, they have opened the door for more and more boutique and experienced Microsoft partners to improve the records and compliance experience within Sharepoint. We'll start today with a brief on modern records management and how it can now be easily integrated into Sharepoint, moving into the incorporation of records and common workplace functions, bringing enterprise content out of the basement and more universally available, and once more improving user experience and adoption through personalization, automation, and relevance. Before I jump back in for question time, now over to you, Alyssa and Patrick.
Thanks very much, Trevor. Patrick here from OnePlace Solutions. And I'll be looking to just share my screen here in a moment. Hi there, Alyssa. Welcome to the call.
Thanks, Trevor. Hi, Patrick. Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's session.
Excellent. Thanks very much. So a quick overview, and look, Trevor, thank you so much for the introduction. My name is Patrick from OnePlace Solutions. For those that haven't met us before, Alyssa and I look after some of the presentation content for OnePlace. I'm the global sales manager and also partner manager here at OnePlace Solutions. So working closely with our team at Promedex and delivering successful implementations of the OnePlace Solutions suite of products, but more broadly, Microsoft 365 and the Promedex team do a great job in facilitating that. We've worked with the team for many years. Alyssa, maybe just a quick introduction, and then I'll continue on from your side, please.
Thanks, Patrick. Yep, my name's Alyssa from OnePlace Solutions. I look after the customer experience and support team for OnePlace, working with customers for a successful implementation of all our products.
All right, so let's jump into things. Look, records are an exciting place to spend a lot of time. You can ensure that business processes are there, and maybe they're not the most exciting, I'll be honest. They're not quite that exciting. They're just making sure that everyone's got everything in place as they need and to refer back to it. There's a amount of times you hear on the news about companies having an email come in from a legal team, so you need to make sure you've got all of your records in place. And these new digital workplaces are exciting from Microsoft 365. The team at Promedex do a great job in helping with that implementation, but I guess what we're going to talk about today is bringing it to users and bringing it to people in organizations and making it easy for you to work with that content. So what we've got, we're getting a little overview of the product suite that we'll be talking about today that's complementary to Microsoft 365, and that's the OnePlace Live, which is a way of having intelligent digital personalization of all of your locations across Microsoft 365. We will have a key focus on OnePlace Mail, which is ensuring that emails are records in your organization and you can send them to the right depository relative to a project or a matter or different area of your business, and to give visibility to other team members of that content to be able to work with it. The last thing you want to do is make records a burden on any person. You want to make sure that it's easy for people to access content quickly and efficiently. And the idea of the OnePlace Solutions suite of products is to bring these Microsoft 365 platforms to users in familiar applications. So with today's presentation, we're going to go through basically having an inbox style environment and making it as easy as possible for people to access their content with personalized locations. Now, this is just a quick screenshot, and we'll be working with Sally Jones as a project manager in an organization. And on the left navigation tree of Outlook here, we're going to show you how OnePlace Mail can present different locations for different reasons in your organization and make it as easy as possible for you to classify emails as they go in and out of SharePoint, and basically having a centralized depository for all of your records to discover easy ways to utilize Microsoft 365 and make sure that you've got a successful records implementation across your organization. So if I jump out of here for a moment and just jump to the inbox, I guess what we want to start off is, if I'm a user in an organization and I'm a business user trying to get my job done, I think, oh, okay, records, I've got to make sure things are in the right place, or how do I access records? We're going to really highlight that today and make it as easy as possible to automatically classify information with metadata as well. So I've got an email here, invoice 121. It's got a couple of project tracker attachments there. So we've got those, and we're just going to try and show you how easy it can be to save content to your Microsoft 365 platform. A bit of orientation around the screen. At the top, you can see a button saying copy to SharePoint or move to SharePoint. That's the OnePlace Mail product sitting inside of an Outlook environment. And on the left navigation tree here, again, you can see OnePlace Mail. Those that be familiar with the personal inboxes and having exchange content, what we're trying to do is make it as easy as possible for you to work with the different solutions. Now, you can see this section here called Prometics Solution Profiles. And what this means is you can bring through employee experience, human resources, legal matter management, project management, all different ways of utilizing your Microsoft 365 to efficiently deliver locations, which makes it really important to make sure that the emails can get into the right locations, but we're going to help with some classification of that data. And one of the slides before was just talking about adding context to information, and that's the most important thing. If something's locked in someone's inbox, it's not always the best place for it. It's important to have it to the relevant location. So if I talk through the save process, if I've got this email here, this invoice 121, I can use the copy to SharePoint button, which will just be my first example here. And this will open up a dialog box. And you can see here that the software will give you some suggested locations. You can have favorite locations, and again, those Prometics solution profiles. Now, if I've already saved to a location, I'm going to use my correspondence library here for the Sonic industry merger, and then I'll come to having a little bit more information about that. But you can see here, I can just simply click save. So that's one way of saving a piece of content. We'll also notify the users via a transferred to SharePoint category. And I'm going to show you one more drag and drop option to the favorites as well, just so you can see that content can quickly and easily go in there. I might just use again as a copy so you can see that content coming through, and click save. So you've got a couple of options there, getting content in. You can see those emails now in SharePoint, but more importantly, let's talk about the access of that content. And I also want to talk about the metadata. So when I talk about metadata, you can see here, I'm now accessing that correspondence library, and the emails, I didn't fill out any additional information, but you can see the name of the file, the email subject, the email date, the email to, the email from, and importantly, a classification label, meaning that we can automatically classify emails, and you may be using things like Azure Information Protection labels. You might be using, I think they're now unified labeling, actually from Microsoft, my faux pas there. Sorry, Elisa, I think you were about to correct me then.
Yeah, the name keeps changing, but yes, unified labels now.
It does, yeah, the unified labels, but it still does the same thing. So I guess what we've got there, and you can see, Elisa, you can see those classification labels being unified and coming through into the display of that content. And just to make sure everyone can see, I actually want to just quickly jump us across to the web browser and just see these are the emails that are in this location. You can see that metadata has been classified and is actually sitting in your Microsoft 365 and not just in Outlook. I think you can see there's one here actually, Elisa, this project park that doesn't have a classification label that you wanted to touch on.
Yeah, so this is probably the benefit of having that automation of the attribute captured. So if you do have the sensitivity labels there, yes, you could manually capture that and promote it to a column, but having that automation there takes the onus off the end user to manually capture that and allows for some more automation of those email records coming into play there.
And a good thing there is you can also have, once it is automatically being captured, you can have different workflows for different classification labels, be it a confidential label or highly confidential. That could trigger a workflow, and that could either lock down an email for a certain period of time, and you can have your retention labels setting up different workflows within your system to ensure that that classification is utilized importantly.
Yeah.
Maybe I can just jump to actually working with that content. So the example might be that someone other than Sally has saved that invoice 121 email. So I'm just going to open that up. One nice aspect of using OnePlace Mail there is it will open as a native email with the two attachments still intact. And at this point, I can obviously forward that on to another team member or even externally if I wish to. But at this point, if I was just to compose an email to Sally, so being able to access records is very important as well. So if I use the insert from SharePoint button, it might be that I needed to access another piece of information from my SharePoint. So I can actually navigate quickly and easily to any of my SharePoint locations that I have access to. We do security trimming, obviously, of those locations. And if I was to pop in here, this coffee project one, it's about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So usually definitely another time for a coffee. But let's insert that file there. So that coffee project is now, so I guess what we're trying to do here is bring records to your fingertips and make it easy for you to work with that content. So being able to insert information from your Microsoft 365 SharePoint system or Microsoft Teams system. We work exactly the same way across Microsoft Teams and SharePoint, and we've got some exciting news just at the end of this webinar with a latest release coming out on Tuesday, actually next week. So I hope that that's the product manager won't won't change anything on me there, but it is very close to release date. Looking forward to that. So we'll show you a quick screenshot of what's coming as well. But what I was trying to ensure there is if you're using the Microsoft 365 platform, you can insert content efficiently, and then you can obviously click send. And we also have a button here, which is called send and file, Elisa, which is quite important around, I guess, emails as a record.
Yeah, it's an important point, Patrick. Like a lot of people think of documents as the record, but an email is a record as well. And it does make sense to keep those records with other working documents in a project or a location that you're saving to. So getting the content in there, as you've mentioned, will automatically capture the email metadata to get that from subject email attributes in, which then provides context to users. So it's providing that context to users once it's in 365 to be able to work with the information once it's stored there, and then you get the benefit of any retention policies that might be applied to the document library level, so that you've got confidence that those retention policies are going to run correctly off the content there.
Yeah, exactly right. I might just jump to the sent items, and you can see here that that forwarded invoice 121 is now transferred to SharePoint. So you can see visually, you get that visual aid of being able to see which emails have been transferred to SharePoint via that send and file button. And if you were to use just the normal compose and send, you can be prompted as a business user that information's there. So no, it's really quite nice. And maybe if I was just to jump back to the correspondence library, and you'll actually see that that final email, that forwarded invoice email, it actually has that email metadata. So it's okay, it's to and from Sally. I apologize, I was just sending internally for the demo environment there, but you can see that that's got that information and it's automatically applied that public classification label. So without having to, from a user's perspective, we're trying to help automate the process of having important records available to the users as quickly as possible, and being able to, I guess, filter by those classification labels, you can also have those coming through. So you can see there, I'm able to filter the content, but I could do that via multiple areas as well. So if I wanted to, I can do INV. So you can see there's the 2 invoice emails with the invoice and forwarded invoice 121 coming through. We also do a duplication checking of the content as well. So if someone else was to try and save the same email to the same location, that will obviously notify the users that that has come through. So it's a really nice way of working with that Microsoft 365 content in a user-friendly way to access and to work with that information. I guess taking a slightly different motion now around records, it's obviously working with records. So OnePlace Mail is helping you save content efficiently to Microsoft 365. You can see via that visual aid of the transferred to SharePoint category being set. One thing I wanted to touch on now is maybe if I was to grab a few emails here, and you can grab up to, you can grab quite a few emails here, up to 200 actually, and you can drag and drop those to a particular location. And what we can do here is just to give you some perspective of what's available. You can have different areas, and I'm just going to drag and drop to active corporate matters. So dragging and dropping those emails to active corporate matters will mean that we're grabbing those 3 emails, taking them out of the inbox and presenting a list of locations. Now, I might just come back to where and how on earth these have come together by using SharePoint just for a moment, and just talking a little bit about a potential way of looking at content. And if I just give you the idea here, and this is something that the team at Prometics do a great job in presenting different solutions built on Microsoft 365 for different reasons, different solutions, and different ways of bringing this, the areas of expertise to different areas of the business. Now, this is an example of a legal matter management system built on Microsoft 365. You can see here the indemnification matter is a status of open, the vehicle maintenance is a status of closed. So you can start to use this metadata, the date that it's open, maybe the attorney or team members or counsel that would be used on that. Apologize for the terminology of attorney. That was for a legal example in the US, but maybe we should have had a lawyer there. But you get the idea there. But and then you can obviously have it linking off to the matter site, so it presents back the locations. But what we can do with this content in Microsoft 365 is group it. And you can see here I've got an option of, say, my open matters. Now, remembering I'm logged in as Sally Jones, there's just 3 matters that Sally is the attorney, or listed as the attorney for, or lawyer for, and they're set to open. So they're the ones that are my open matters. The example I just showed in OnePlace Mail was the corporate matters. So you can see here the indemnification matter, bankruptcy proceedings. Hopefully that doesn't happen too often to anyone that's listening to our webinar today. Legal research, Johnson versus Johnson. So you can see the idea of the matter titles coming through. Now, if I jump back to how this affects users and how does this make sense, you can see that these active corporate matters will be what's listed for the users inside of OnePlace Mail. So at that stage, I can just dig into any of these correspondence libraries and be able to save to those locations quickly and easily, making it extremely easy to save that content. So if I just quickly run through that again, I do a drag and drop, I can move those to, I'll just quickly go to my open matters, maybe to give that same example. And you can see those ones there, open matters, the indemnification matter, risk management, and so forth. So you can see Johnson versus Johnson. So you might be able to save to those locations. So it's being able to dynamically deliver what's important for users for different reasons and different areas. The way in which the information is built out is up to you and your business requirements. That's the beauty and flexibility of Microsoft 365. But what you'll notice is, as we're saving all of this content into these locations, if I was to present the most recent locations, all of that metadata has been captured: the email subject, the email date, the email to, the email from. So it's a really nice way of having that content available. You can see there that the 3 emails I just saved a moment ago have that public classification. I actually turned that classification labeling on just recently for today's webinar. So hence, previously saved emails don't have that, which means that you're capturing true and accurate records by implementing that type of scenario there. So I think that's really important to understand as well. So talking about accessing those different locations, I guess what we want to try and do, and I did have a slide a little bit earlier, and we're trying to bring people to the center and focus about how we, as an organization, as OnePlace Solutions, and as an organization of Prometics, can deliver the right locations and make it easy for us to work with the content. I've touched on the ability to preview and also search content. You can have a more globalized search coming through from the top here within OnePlace Mail. Maybe if I just pause for a moment here, Elisa, is there anything you'd like to see? I know that we've touched on the records repositories. Did you want me to sort of show a couple of other areas or another example there of open tax matters? Is that maybe a good idea?
Yeah, that's a good point. Some documents and surfacing those locations.
Yeah, I guess from a usability perspective, it might be just talking about emails, but emails, yes, they are important records, but I've got a Contoso Final 203 PDF here, which is in the same location. So what I wanted to be able to show you is that if you're accessing or needing to access content, you can do that directly from within OnePlace Mail of SharePoint and Microsoft 365 content. I can also double click on that file and it will open within the native application that you'd like to open it in. So that's where you have some additional flexibility with OnePlace Mail and OnePlace Docs, and you also have the ability to save back directly from PDF to SharePoint and Microsoft 365 via OnePlace Docs. So being able to work with that, that's important. So you can see here the save a copy to SharePoint. We also embed within the file button. So you can see here save copy to SharePoint rather than the native Microsoft save as, which would save it locally. I guess when you're working with records, what we're trying to say is, how do I get it into our records solution, be it Microsoft 365, as efficiently as possible? And you can see here now, I can have those different areas of the business available quickly and easily at my fingertips. So being able to jump in and save to maybe this Sonic industry merger, the agreements file location. It will present any metadata, any statuses, which I can actually change the status to draft as I'm saving it in there. So that's quite nice. I can also view the location content. So you can see there's a couple of files that are in there that already. I can go and bring through those properties. If I wanted to use particular properties of that, I can view item in the browser or use these items properties as default. I won't do that in this instance because I'm going to change the status to draft, but you can see where it's really powerful to bring your record solution to your users inside of OnePlace Mail. And when I say OnePlace Mail, it's OnePlace Mail actually inside of Outlook, where everyone on a daily basis is working when they're corresponding between different organizations. And then we've also got the ability now to save to SharePoint locations and Microsoft Teams locations. So I'm just highlighting here, just saving to that draft. One other aspect is also being able to rename it as it goes into SharePoint. I'll just pop in PG there.
I think that's an important point there, Patrick, like making sure that users are engaged and at the center of that digital workplace so that when they're engaged, it sort of progresses from an information management into a records and compliance system as well, with those benefits that Microsoft 365 provide.
Yes, no,
Yeah.
that's a great point. And maybe I might just talk, because there's some out of the box functionality that Microsoft provides, which is fantastic, where if you're working on a like a Word document and I was to open that up from your records repository and then start editing it, obviously you've got the automatic save back feature, so you can automatically save back to that location. So if we were to make an edit to that and then simply save back to SharePoint, it'll give you the option of doing that, which is really nice. If you haven't opened it from SharePoint and you're composing a new document, OnePlace Docs also gives you the ability to have the same favorited locations and those same solution profiles coming through as well. So I guess the consistency of locations for users is really important. So those active corporate matters, being able to work with that information and get it into the agreements library or correspondence library, again, being able to update that status, and maybe this one could be a scheduled for review or something like that. It's just trying to make sure you can easily get that content into SharePoint, save it to the right location, and work with that information as quickly and efficiently as possible, with all content not residing in your local devices, but on those records repositories. So being able to work with that information effectively. So you can see here that that update has come through with that number 2 sitting on that draft. So it's really efficient way of working with the content and making sure we are bringing people as the focus when it comes to records. Now, as I said at the start, I might have been making a small joke, which wasn't funny, so please feel free to laugh, and everyone's on mute, so I'm hoping that someone laughed at some of my jokes, but records aren't that exciting. But how do we ensure that our teams in businesses, and we're putting people at the focus to make sure that it is easy to work with the content. If new information comes into the inbox, it's saying, okay, how do I get that content efficiently into SharePoint? I can also do things like copy selected or copy all attachments to SharePoint, so those files can be quickly and efficiently saved into Microsoft 365. Just with this dialog box open, I might just quickly jump across to our slide because I think I've got a quick screenshot there, which I just want to show everyone. And this is another dialog box that's just opening up here. So this is actually our latest release, which is due out on Tuesday. You can see here that you can have your favorites, but the SharePoint, Teams, and OneDrive will actually have its own Teams node. So we are really focusing and aligning with Microsoft in that Microsoft Teams platform. And you can see here in the second screenshot that you can actually dive into any of the teams that you've got access to. Now that is all security trimmed by Microsoft 365, and OnePlace Mail and OnePlace Docs will not show any more than what you have access to. We also support private channels. So this environment impact study is actually a private channel. There's a small padlock there. You might need good eyes because it's quite small on my screen too. But the idea there is you can save into those locations that you as a user have access to, and being able to get that content efficiently in and back out of those locations, and being able to again tap into that Prometic solution profiles aspect. So being able to personalize the experience across your organization and bring back what's important, whether they're Teams enabled sites or just Microsoft Teams sites, or sorry, SharePoint sites as well. So that's maybe something I just wanted to touch on that will actually bring through the UI of Microsoft Teams coming through into Outlook, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and Adobe. So just maybe before I finish up and hand over for some questions there, Trevor, what I might do is just quickly show you that will also come through via the OnePlace Docs Explorer, which is a live connection to Microsoft 365. So today, I'm on our 8.4 release, 8.5 due out on Tuesday. You can see the site collections here coming through, and these are whether they're Teams enabled or just SharePoint enabled, but the Microsoft Teams sites will come through on the same navigation tree. You'll be able to view the content in real time, see any subfolders, and then work with that content efficiently, being able to edit any metadata requirements as well. If I went to a documents library, if I was to grab maybe a couple of these, now this isn't the most exciting metadata changes I'm ever going to make, but you can see here that one says New York, one says London. I'm now able to change both of those to Tokyo. And you can see that's actually changed within the content in SharePoint. So it's really quite a nice way about going about things. You're also able to create subfolders from directly here if you've got access to do so in SharePoint. So look, I've probably covered a little bit more ground than we thought we would today. We're about 35 minutes into the webinar. So I think I might just hand back to Trevor there at this point from a Q&A perspective. You might want to take back the screen at some stage there, Trevor, as well. But it's really nice that we can present those different locations and make it as easy for you as possible to save your content into Microsoft 365 and get it back out, ensuring that those records are captured.
Perfect. Wonderful. That was fantastic. Thank you, Patrick and Alyssa. Mate, I laughed at every single joke.
Oh, well done. Thank you. Thank you, Trevor.
Look, a very good one. We've only got a couple of questions to cover off. So the first one to come through is, can you deliver those locations on the left-hand side to more than one group of users?
Oh, that is a good question. Yeah, I was just focused on Sally in today's presentation. So, Elisa, did you want to answer that one, or do you want me to? Yeah,
Yeah, I can jump in there. Yeah, so the locations that Patrick presented there under the solution profiles can be presented to different users and different security groups. So it does hook into your Active Directory. To really simplify, you could have one set of folders or locations for the legal team, one for the marketing team, etc. So yes, that is possible. That's done through our configuration profile service that allows you to select which users would see which profiles.
Excellent. Number 2, currently we are manually adding the date of the emails when saving. Does this mean we wouldn't have to do so?
Yeah, I might grab that one, Elisa. So if you are manually adding the date to a file name, you wouldn't need to do it in the future, but it can also be a file name that you can actually customize. So we've got a configuration aspect of OnePlace Mail, so you could automatically add the date, so month, day, year, or format as you wish. So that's something that we could streamline for you as well. But the beauty of using a solution like OnePlace Mail is that you can have just the email sent date or received date, or actually captured as separate metadata, which would alleviate the requirement to have the date column inside of the file name, because you've got that rich metadata being saved automatically.
Beautiful. And just the last one, I know you did mention 200 emails, but what's the how much can you stretch at? How many emails can be saved at one time?
Yeah, no, good question. So by default, it's 200, but you can actually configure that up to 1,000. So yeah, I don't mind. If I guess from that side, you can configure it further. Some might want to restrict it down to 50 or so, but I guess there's different organisations that have legal holds and different things. So you might have different ways of working with your content, but the idea is that we're more on the productivity tool. You don't want to sort of slow your computer down by trying to upload 1,000 emails at any one time too often. So generally we restrict it to 200, but you can configure that further if need be.
Wonderful. And we've just had one more come in. What's the maximum file size it supports to store in SharePoint?
Excellent. Yeah, so I guess when it comes to saving content between OnePlace Mail or Exchange and SharePoint, we honor anything that's possible from an upload or download perspective that SharePoint supports. So if it's possible in SharePoint, it's possible through OnePlace Mail and OnePlace Docs. That's correct, isn't it, Elisa?
Yeah, that's right. I think the Outlook limit's still about 20 meg on an attachment, so you'll be able to save those attachments without any concerns into SharePoint through OnePlace Mail.
Excellent.
So that's the same as standard. Sorry, Trevor.
Yeah, so there's no restrictions it's just the restrictions that are imposed by Outlook and SharePoint.
Yeah. That's correct. Yeah, we honour both restrictions on the Outlook side. We can cover their maximum, and then the SharePoint side, it's their maximum. We're facilitating the save to make it simplified, not restricting it by the size of content.
Perfect. Well, I guess that brings us to the end of webinar number 3. I'll endeavour to get an email out to everyone to thank you for your time, and with links to the webinar, answers to all questions for you to share with your teams.
Trevor, sorry to interrupt. I've just seen another note there. I think we've got one more. We'll just get them in. It's always funny when we're trying to get you're trying to close off a session, but we've got one more quick question. It says, can you overwrite the automated classification label chosen if needed? Maybe Elisa, would you be able to help with that one? So I'll just re-say it. I'd rush trying to get that out. Can you overwrite the automated classification chosen if needed?
Yeah, it's a good question. If you're using the unified labels and sensitivity labels, you'd be applying that to the email, which we would then automatically capture and promote that to a column. We don't show it in the Save to SharePoint window. You might have noticed when Patrick was going through it, the public was not being shown as a item that can be customized because it's trying to capture the true and accurate record. In saying that, any other custom columns that you might have, you can definitely capture custom metadata and modify that as needed in the save process.
Yeah, that's a good point. So it can be changed if it's an allowable change that you've decided as an organization within Microsoft 365. But what we were trying to show today was that automatic capture. So you set the sensitivity label on the email, and then that automatically captures that content. So thank you very much for that question. Sorry,
Perfect.
Trevor, I'll let you wind up. Sorry.
That's all right. Well picked up. I missed that one. Yeah, so we'll send out an email. Thank you for your time, and with links for the previous and this webinar, and also registration for the final one on migrating records to SharePoint. So once more, thank you all for your time. Thank you, Patrick and Alyssa, and we'll end it there, and we'll be in touch. Thank you very much once more.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Trevor.
Thanks, everyone.